Well, didn't get to comment on the first game, so I want to congratulate Florida State, Coach Martin, his staff, and players on a tremendous year and achieving being one of the 64 in a regional tournament. That's not easy to do. We've talked about it before, so nobody likes to have their season end, but those guys need to know that they accomplished something very, very special that a lot of teams didn't this year. So, tough day, long day. Had to win two games to get to tomorrow, and that's exactly what our team did. First game against Florida State. Obviously the storyline was Ryan Ock being able to cover what he did and just basically just dominate Florida State hitters, and that's not an easy lineup to do that with. So very proud of him, very proud of our offense, our defense, everything that went into the body of work to win that game earlier today. The second game, obviously, another star was born, and that was Tanner Hall on the mound. Young man hadn't pitched a whole lot lately, threw a lot for us early in the year. Maybe too much, maybe kind of wore him down a little bit, but he's back strong and showed that tonight, going 5 innings of one-hit baseball. And again, another performance by a young man who dominated a very good lineup in Ole Miss. So, his pitches, especially his two seams, like a bowling ball that he throws in there. I mean, it literally just rolls off, and it's tough for hitters both right and left to barrel anything up with that. But hats off to our team. Give up 4 in the top of the first, have trouble coming out the gate. But, our guys, it didn't seem to bother them. They came in the bottom of the first, obviously, and put together a lot of great at-bats and scored 7 runs. So very proud of how they punched back after getting punched in the face there in the top.
Luke, get us started. Coach, just talk about, I guess Montenegro was really the only upperclassman on the field tonight. Most of your pitchers were freshmen. Can you just talk about in the Ole Miss game how they rose to the occasion?
Well, they played much older than their age, as you could see, but tremendous leadership on this team. Luke and Will McGillis, Danny Lynch, Reed Trimble, Gabe. I mean, these guys, Stanley, they don't like to lose. They don't want to lose, and they refuse to lose. It isn't that we hadn't lost, but we learned from losing, and I think you can see that now, how this team has matured over the course of the season and where we are right now. We're sitting here at 40 wins. And, at one time we were sitting at 4-5 in the early part of the year. So certainly maturity, leadership from this team has got us where we are today.
Patrick?
Coach, if you would just talk about how Tanner Hall kind of sets y'all up going into tomorrow and how y'all approach that on the mound.
Well, Tanner Hall kept a lot of guys that didn't have to come in the game that we're going to have to use tomorrow. How that sets up for tomorrow, I really have no idea. Just finishing this game, Oz and I haven't had a chance to talk and discuss any kind of plan or strategy moving forward. But obviously, we know who we can eliminate, who's not going to be throwing tomorrow. But I think the key is in the young freshman T. Hall being able to cover that 5 innings and really keeping that bullpen as fresh as it can be for tomorrow's game.
Rick?
Scott, is this with Tanner Hall, is that something you knew he had in him? Have you seen signs of that before?
Oh, yeah. He's got ice water in his veins, let me tell you. Like I said, we used him a lot early in the year, and I think maybe too much. I think we kind of wore him down a little bit. So he hadn't been out there a whole lot as of late. Spot coming out of the pen here and there, but nothing like at the beginning of the year. But he was phenomenal at the beginning of the year. He's very competitive. The moment, whatever it is, does not bother him, as you witnessed tonight. I think, as a matter of fact, I think the bigger the moment, the more he wants that baseball. And certainly we saw that for 5 innings.
Andrew?
Coach, can you talk about this offense and just what it's been able to do in this regional and the response they seem to have, especially after last week?
Well, and and even, you know, after last week, we went 2-2 in the conference tournament, but we did a lot of things well over there. We just didn't do enough to win a baseball game. 2 of those games there at the end, getting walked off on both games on Saturday. But our offense was clicking over there. We scored runs. We had great at bats. You know, as we've gotten deeper in the year, these guys have matured and they've taken their at bats that maybe they haven't had success with throughout the year and been able to build on it and apply to it. Hats off to Coach Creel, Coach Amorati, and what they've been able to do working day in, day out with these hitters. And then once again, hats off to these hitters and buying in what they're telling them and the approach and trusting everything about what we try to teach at Southern Miss.
Nick?
Not kind of the flip side of that question. After getting walked off twice last week, your bullpen, I think 5 runs in 21 innings these last 4 games. Just how impressed have you been with their ability to respond and the resilience they've shown throughout this entire tournament?
Well, and that's kind of who we were, you know, prior to that. That was just a little hiccup. As they say, that's baseball. And you know, we make a play here or there. We're probably talking a different scenario with that. But we didn't, and we moved forward and we flushed what didn't take place in Ruston, and we've applied it over here. So, you know, that I think that's especially after losing the first game to Florida State. Certainly, we could have two and queued and gone home and said, hey, that's the year. We're young. You know, we weren't supposed to make it too far anyway. But that's not the attitude with these guys. The attitude is we're supposed to be here because that's the tradition at Southern Miss. That's what we're supposed to do, and that's what we're expected to do. So, you know, I think that in the leadership with our guys, making sure that everybody, newcomers coming in, they understand that we're supposed to be here at this moment.
Last question from Rick.
Yeah, Scott, I would assume that I think Etheridge threw 36, 38 pitches the other night, that he would figure prominently in your plans tomorrow.
He will be available. Yes, sir.